Mike's Daily Podcast.
Oh, on Katrine, my cousin in Germany, and after taking such a long trip to Florida, I feel like, why can't I just go all the way to Germany next time? And for the most part, everything went well. Hello, welcome to episode 1445. I am Mike Matthews, broadcasting from Café Anyway, located somewhere in Podcastro Valley, Mont. And the show's called Mike's Daily Podcast. And I'm back for my vacation in Florida, and then a couple days off doing some traveling around California. Mike's Daily Podcast. It's nice to take a vacation and get away from people that annoy you. I'm not pointing any fingers, but if you're a captain, I say ahoy. You look nice in that little pirate outfit. Did you go and buy it at a place that's called
Awesome?
Snoffit? That's a place.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
I'd like to say hi out to a person I met during my vacation. That was really cool.
Mike's
We had a long conversation.
Daily
I'm not allowed to say her name,
Podcast.
so I won't, but I say this.
Yeah!
We had a great time talking for about 3 hours, and I'm waiting for her to contact me through my email, or she can call me at the Café Anyway number, 336-MM Daily. That's 336-MM Daily here at Café Anyway. Anyway. Look who just walked in. Some person. That's real. By the way, I always enjoy when I go to visit my mom, trying to explain to her my podcast, or explaining to anyone my podcast. The fact that people walk in, the fact that we're at a cafe, that kind of thing. Nobody gets it, but whatever. Cafe, whatever.
Well, it's not my fault.
Anyway, look who else walked in. People. Hello, Mike Matthews. It's Chely Shoehart, gift shop supervisor. It's great to have you back. We missed you and all that stuff. And this is Floyd the Floorman. And this is John Deere, the engineer. Yes, Mike, don't ever leave us again. We were so alone. Oh, man. Well, what I would like to tell you guys is Florida is there, and it was not that. You know, the media just goes so crazy. I always talk about this. If it bleeds, it leads. You know that. But
and here's today's podcast picture.
the podcast picture today is of this wonderful area out in front of a place I like to go called the Deck Down Under. Our Deck Down Under. It's in Daytona Beach, and it's on the Halifax River, actually. The way Daytona Beach is laid out is it's got the beautiful beaches, the Atlantic coast beaches on one side, and then in the right, just splitting right in between Daytona Beach practically, is this river called the Halifax River. It's actually part of the intercoastal pathway, something like that you can apparently go all the way up the coast and eventually end up somewhere really far up north. And that's all I know about that. I am basically your tour guide for fascinating stuff. But the weather was humid, and it was nice. You sit out there with generally a nice iced tea or something, sweet tea. I was drinking a beer. Oh, this is the weird thing in Daytona Beach. Everywhere you go, like here, you can get all kinds of craft beers wherever you go. But there, what do you have to drink? What beers have you got on tap, on draft? Oh, we've got Coors, Budweiser, Miller, you know, the holy triumvirate. And then they okay, what's the craft beer? They always say Yingling. I don't know what the hell Yingling is. Or occasionally they have Amberbach. But I was like, where's your cool California beers? Your 21st Amendment, your Lagunitas, your Drakes, or anybody local? Jeez. Oh, shoot. Hang on, I gotta run over here and grab something. I have some new listeners that I met on BART. Friends, friends, let me tell y'all, it's gonna take a while for me to tell you everything that happened on my week off. But I will like to say I did run into some Huntsville, Alabama people. I will tell you the interesting way we met later on this week, but I met Donna Green Goodman and her husband Eddie on BART, and she gave me this book called Cooking Up Good Health Recipe Collection. And she is amazing because she is living in Alabama, where I lived for 2 years, and I will tell you, I will attest that you cannot eat healthy in Alabama. This is what I found. Well, she wrote a book back in 2008, and she's online at stillshoutin, without the G.com, stillshoutin.com, and she's got all these cool Southern recipes where she basically makes amazing food, and it's all healthy. It's all like she keeps away from the processed stuff, so that's awesome. She and her husband are vegans, actually, in Alabama. That's amazing right there. So it was a really bad BART trip. Other than that, they made it better, but it was what we would call a cluster or something, a cluster nugget, because BART had a system-wide power failure. As soon as I got on it, I was ready to go home. I just arrived at San Francisco Airport. And then cluster nugget time. It was not fun. Except for the part that I got to talk to Donna and Eddie. So it was a lot of fun that way. But yeah, small world. The Hurricane Irma, it was not, let's say it was not a walk in the park. But compared to Hurricane Matthew last year, it was not as bad. There were docks torn out. There were trees that had been blown over or branches knocked down everywhere I went. Windows had been blown out. But businesses, all in all, were working. Maybe their signs had been blown out, but they were in business. Some, I think one or two that I went to, we ate out all the time. It was a vacation, so what the hell. And a lot of places were on janitor. A janitor? No, they're on generator. But they sometimes have a janitor they have to, I guess, to clean the place up. But the generators were on at some places. Other than that, Daytona Beach was fine. Except for when I tried to leave Daytona Beach, my airplane for some reason needed a new engine. That was a little bit scary. And then I had to wait a long time on the plane. But then I ended up staying in Daytona Beach for an extra day, so woohoo there. But let's get on to the next segment. Oh, what are we going to call this one? We'll just call this one News Random. I'm so behind today. Basil was he's not feeling good for some reason. Basil the boxer, I think because I woke up so early. He was all stiff and he ate his breakfast, but he looked like he was not feeling that good. So hopefully he gets some sleep and he'll be better when I get home from work later today. Also, I had some mechanical problems with my dishwasher and a couple other things were acting weird and funky. I had to get gas, so I was a little late to work. It's been a crazy morning, so hopefully things will work better a little later on today and for this week. But check out the website, mikesdailypodcast.com. You can help out the show through the Amazon link. Click on that and buy whatever it is you're going to buy, and that helps us out. There's also a PayPal. You can help us out that way and get a special greeting from all the Café Anyway characters. And now let's get to the and all the past podcast pictures are there at mikesdailypodcast.com. This is the segment that we call
News Random.
And now we return you to our regularly scheduled program with Mike Matthews.
There's a bit of news, bit of a shocker. Nearly 50,000 people have evacuated their homes amid fears of an imminent volcanic eruption on the Indonesian resort island of Bali. As of this recording, Mount Agung, it's about 47 miles from the tourist hub of Kuta, has been rumbling since August, threatening to erupt for the first time in more than 50 years. Indonesia's disaster mitigation agency said Monday that over 48,000 people have fled, although the number was expected to rise more than 60,000. More than 60,000 lived in the danger zone. The reason is the mountain hasn't erupted yet, that not everyone has evacuated yet. They are worried about their livestock. That's always an issue. We saw that in the hurricane Irma. A lot of people, that was sad about people leaving their pets behind. But officials announced the highest possible alert level on Friday following the increasing volcanic activity and told people to stay at least 9 kilometers away from the crater. Evacuees have packed into temporary shelters or moved in with relatives. The United States military said yesterday it had conducted drone strikes on ISIS training camps in Libya. A ISIS training camp, one singular, killing 17 militants in the first American airstrike in the strife-torn North African nation since January. A half dozen precision strikes Friday hit a training camp about 150 miles southeast of Sirte, from which militants were moving fighters in and out of the country, stockpiling weapons and equipment, and plotting and conducting attacks, said the Pentagon's Africa Command. And Donald Trump has put the trade panel has put solar tariff decision in Trump's hand. Federal trade panel declared Friday that surging imports of solar panels have hurt U.S. manufacturers, a decision that will allow President Trump to penalize Chinese companies. And that's it. I cannot go any further. I'm worn out. Oh, but I guess there is a new travel ban. Trump yesterday issued a new order banning almost all travel to the United States from 7 countries, including most of the nations covered by his original travel ban, citing threats to national security posed by letting their citizens into the country. Most citizens of Iran, Libya, Syria, Yemen, Somalia, Chad, and North Korea will be indefinitely banned from entering the United States. Okay, as we go outside of Café Anyway, we're bringing you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcaster Valley. Maybe I shouldn't have done the news today. It's a downer. But I'd like to thank Marco for helping me out last week and covering my original shift at my job. And I'll hopefully get to do another podcast tomorrow. We'll see how it goes and get back up to doing a daily podcast. Although in the future, I won't be doing as many Sunday podcasts. Just to let you know, I don't think that many people catch my Sunday podcast, but I do it. I've been doing it every month, every week for a couple months. We'll see how that goes. I'm having issues with my weekend job that's kind of cutting into my podcast. So we'll see what happens with that. But I will be hopefully continuing doing the weekday podcast for sure. Anyway, Café Anyway, thank you so much for listening to this show.
Anyway.
And I gotta go and clean up the mess that Marco made. He made a little bit of a one, and I gotta just, continue with that. But enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see how the rest of this week goes. Thank you for catching the welcome back episode of Mike's Daily Podcast. You're welcome back, Cotter. Next show, it'll be Benita, the Disgruntled Fiddle Player, and the Brewmaster.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com. Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!